Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the Knowledge Corner. We're here joined with the Sheikh Mohammed Hijab. How are you doing, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah, barakallah fi. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, not bad. How's it going? Everything okay?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Very good. Well, we've got some questions.
Alhamdulillah.
We've got some questions we need to ask you, which I actually haven't read myself. I've just been given these questions by the production team, and we're going to read it, inshallah. I'm going to see what you're going to say about it. Okay, so this is Assalamu alaikum, brother/sister. I would like to remain anonymous. Jazakallahu khairan. I'm an 18-year-old Muslim, just started to recently practice properly my religion, praying 5 times a day, etc., and left behind a life of regular sins and asked for forgiveness, alhamdulillah. I'm 18 years old, and of course my sexual desires are sky high. I do not want to masturbate, and I know we are advised by the Prophet to either fast or get married. I think right now it's impossible for me to get married because of my age, mainly, and other reasons. I can't fast so often because of reasons like college / work, etc. I know it's possible, but you know I'm getting at.
You know
what I'm getting at.
You know where I'm getting.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at.
Yeah.
طيب.
I was wondering, what is the ruling on masturbation? Why is it forbidden? And how can one go about releasing their sexual energy, especially as a young Muslim? Jazakallah khair.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala abdillah Rasul Nabina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. The questioner, he mentioned a number of issues regarding this mas'ala, this issue. And firstly, regarding the hukm or the ruling on it, he himself knows it. As he mentioned it already, he said, and I quote, I know it's haram. Right?
Yeah, but then he asks.
I know it's haram, so he mentioned the ruling on it, and that's enough for us to delve into. Alhamdulillah, he's done my job for me, essentially. And this is, of course, according to the vast majority of the scholars. But there was another thing I noticed, and that he dismissed a few remedies to this issue, or to this problem that he's facing, or the question is facing, very easily. And I believe this was unjust in a certain extent.
Say that again, sorry?
He dismissed, for example, possible remedies such as fasting. I think he mentioned that fasting is hard due to college.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Well, the reality is that fasting is not hard. And fasting, in its nature, there is some kind of difficulty in it. And this is the whole purpose of siyam, of fasting. This is a type of difficulty, mushaqqa, that the sharia has accommodated and done i'tibar for, or it's accommodated to a certain extent. So yes, there is slight difficulty. But it is something that, as An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned himself, it is a cure for someone who is unable to marry, from the hadith of Ibn Abbas, muttafaqun alayhi, agreed upon Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ, and whomsoever cannot marry, فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ. Then let him fast. فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاء, because it will literally remove this. And of course the scholars, the Shurah al-Hadith, explain of the hadith, they differ in the understanding of this word wija. But many of them state that it will literally remove this sexual desire and kind of problems that this questioner is facing. So it's not something that should be dismissed this easily, in my opinion. Okay, and yeah, you might find it difficult at first, subhanAllah, but after a while it will become a habit and norm from you, inshallah. Not only would you find it removing this particular aspect, but you'll find yourself coming closer to Allah. You would find your nafs purifying. You'll find the taqwa in you, which is why fasting has been legislated in the first place. It will start to develop within yourself. So this was the first thing I believe he dismissed quite easily. The second thing, I'm not sure, he mentioned...
We're not sure if it's a he or she.
The questioner, sorry. Yeah. He dismissed, or the question dismissed quite easily, was the issue of marriage. And he said he cannot get married because the questioner is 18 years old. This is problematic, subhanAllah. And this, to be honest, it goes to an issue that, it's quite deep-rooted within our societies here in the West, which is, unfortunately, marriage has become something difficult. It's been made something difficult, possibly unfeasible, due to a person's age. Why? Allahu A'lam. Is it viewed as a person who's 18 is immature, or is it viewed he hasn't got the material kind of capabilities to get married?
I think a lot to do with family as well, culture.
Culture as well. Yeah. It's problematic. I mean, these are barriers that we have to remove. These are boundaries that we have to kind of overcome and make it easier for our shabab and our brothers and sisters, young brothers and sisters, to get married. SubhanAllah. وإلا, if not, يكثر الفساد في الأرض. There will be a lot of corruption in the earth, as the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in the hadith.
So, can you mention something about jihad al-nafs and about
No.
struggling against one's self? Because nowadays I think there is this, a cultural problem, you could say, of... Because the thing is, like, even in the academic works, I remember reading a book called Civilization is Discontents, written by Freud. Very famous.
Okay. Sigmund Freud.
Sigmund Freud.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called Civilization is Discontents.
Yeah.
And what he was arguing in the book was that basically the society has put so much pressure on us, and it's forced us to regulate our lives not in line with what is natural to us as human beings.
But then again, that can be debated upon. What is natural to him? How did he ascertain this? What's the mechanism employed?
So the point is, like, a lot in liberal societies now, what's being said to us is
Postmodernism, really. We're talking about the effects of postmodernism.
Yeah, like in liberal societies now, we've been told that, just experiment with yourself, do this. This shouldn't be a taboo topic.
Yeah.
Why are you making it difficult?
It comes back to the issue of ethics and morality.
Yeah.
And how does one ascertain what's his anchor? Is it from a theist or atheistic approach?
But what I'm trying to say here, you're absolutely right with all that point, is that
Alhamdulillah, in Islam, our anchor is قال الله قال الرسول.
Yeah.
Allah says, the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this.
In a liberal society, in a socially liberal society,
Yeah.
it becomes more increasingly difficult for people, young people, to abide by Islamic principles when they're being told everywhere that this is what you should be doing. You should just do it, right? From a Nike perspective, just do it. Why are you talking about it too much? Why are you thinking about it too much? Just do it. So how would you address this kind of Western
Allah Mustan.
slogan?
This is it's a big question. It's a big issue, and it needs a complete, a multifaceted approach and a completely holistic approach from academics and ulama and scholars from experts in different disciplines to kind of address it really. And it's beyond the scope of this. But I think one of the most important things, in my opinion, and of course this is relative, is to have, be proud to be Muslim. Do not shy away from your faith. Be proud that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made you a Muslim. Be proud that Allah Jalla wa'ala has made you a Muslimah. And hold tight to your religion. And understand that which is pleasing to Allah. Understand your purpose. Once you understand that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, I haven't created man and jinn except to worship me. Everything in this dunya fades away.
SubhanAllah.
Because you know your only purpose here is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is ibadah? What is ibadah? Ya Muhammad, I'm asking you. What is worship? What is worship?
It's doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded you to do and abstaining from that which He told you not to do. Submission.
Submission. Ta'a. It's, as Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi defined it, it's literally anything that Allah is pleased with. Whether it's speech, it's action, anything that is a pleasure for Allah. Externally, internally, it is all pleasing to Allah, it is all ibadah.
It's like what is interesting and ironic, because Nietzsche himself, he said, when there's a why, almost any how is possible.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
when you have a purpose, I mean, any of those things, any of those obstacles, whether they be internal or external, they're all very possible.
Absolutely, subhanAllah.
And also, like, I think there's another kind of attack which I want to mention to you as well, which is in the popular discourse, especially in feminist works, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
And it's to do with how religious people...
You're talking roughly the last 50, 60 years?
Yeah. In second wave feminism and stuff like that. So to do how religious people conceptualize masturbation. In fact, many people have written books about this.
Okay, yeah.
And just to be very, very clear, you're saying the ruling is the ruling for men and women.
Absolutely.
So there's no differentiation here.
I mean,
I'm not saying that there's one rule
the principle in the Sharia is that, al-khitab al-shar'i, or, kind of address is both general to male and female, unless there's an evidence that stipulates the opposite. So anything addressed in the Sharia, in the textual evidences, applies to both men and women. Unless it is clear, there's evidence to remove that.
Right, because one of the attacks levied against the Muslims, or let's say religious people, is that we're trying to suppress women's sexuality, and at the expense of bolstering the man's sexuality.
SubhanAllah.
You see, so what you're saying is that this is a general rule for all
absolutely
Muslims.
There is no restriction on this, SubhanAllah, and this is batil min aslihi aslan.
And what you said in the beginning was that there was some kind of difference. So you said some.
I said the vast majority of the fuqaha, nearly all of them, state that it is haram. You will find some of the Hanafis state that it is makruh and disliked, but the Hanafi ulama themselves have interpreted this karaha, or this disliked, to be karaha tahrimiyya. It is disliked, but in the haram sense, meaning it is haram to do it. And this is to do it without haja, without a need to do it. Okay? Without a need to do it.
Anyone can claim there's a need, though, isn't it?
Precisely. So, I mean, what many of the scholars mention is first, not every haja. As we're going to a bit into أصول
الحاجات
الفقه.
تبيح المكروهات.
المكروهات تبيح الحاجات تبيح المكروهات. Yeah, so this is an interesting principle that that which is disliked, or sorry, the hajat or need, it allows, it makes things that are, it removes karaha, or something that is disliked, and it lowers it down to that which is mubah, that which is permissible. Okay, and we're delving slightly into a bit of maqasid al-sharia and the high objectives and aims of the sharia. And many of the maqasid, you know, those ulama of maqasid, they state that the sharia has three distinct levels here. One which is the dururat, absolute needs and necessities. A person's life, or literally depends on this issue. And then we have hajat, needs, which are slightly less than this. And this is something a person needs in their everyday life. And after this, we have issues that are from the tahsiniyat, or things that a person needs for a certain type of food he likes it, or type of drink, for example.
So on that, yeah, go ahead.
Why did we mention this for? Because this would generally apply here if the Hanafi said, and we're going into the madhab slightly, if they understood it as makruh, karaha, tanzihiyya. Now the Hanafis have a way of understanding karaha, or something that is disliked, in two ways. One is that this karaha is in fact something haram, and the other is that this karaha is something that is makruh, literally disliked, which is not haram, it's a level less than that. There is no sin, but you get rewarded if you leave it, according to the fuqaha generally. This is the fuqaha understanding of it, or the fiqhi understanding. So we've ascertained this. Now we're going to another issue which is commonly asked about this, and that is if someone, and this is something the fuqaha themselves, the scholars of fiqh, have spoken about, if a person fears that he'll fall into zina, if he fears he'll fall into zina, okay?
So give us a scenario, sorry to be explicit here, but
I think it's clear. If a person fears that he's going to fall into zina.
What if, for example, he's got someone on his phone who he likes,
no,
and she's or he is interacting with that person, and they might be feeling, okay, well, I might be falling into, she might.
So here, so I believe here, and Allah knows best, that here there's a fear here, okay? But it's not as if he's actually going to go and commit the zina. He's going to put on his shoes, for example, and leave to go, and etc., etc. So here there's a fear, and it's a fear that is mu'tabar, meaning it's a realistic fear. It's not wahmi, he's not just making up in his head.
I see what you're saying.
Okay, so there's actually a legitimate fear here.
Right.
Now, it's interesting to know that yes, many of the fuqaha have said here that it is permissible for him to do this.
If he fears.
If he fears, and this is a actual fear. However, some of the Malikiyya, and in fact even some of the Hanabila and others, have said that in fact it is still haram on him. It is still haram. If he does it, he's still sinful nonetheless.
Can I ask a question? Where we say that the person is about to leave the house, yeah?
No.
He might be leaving the house with, I'm thinking here, there's two things. Either he has ghalabat dhann, so he's most likely going to do it.
Most likely, yeah.
Or he has yaqeen. Obviously, we say yaqeen is like he's certain that he's going to do it. Then you can, as the lesser of two evils, we're agreed that that's the better thing to do. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about that.
No.
But what about he has ghalabat dhann? So he's going out now, but he doesn't know for sure. But let's say 60%, there's a chance of him doing it.
If there's no other way to free himself from this action, except through this, then it should be done. Why? أخف الضررين. ارتكاب أخف الضررين.
And by the way,
it should be done, which is taking the lesser of two evils. But bear in mind, the Malikiyya, many of them were still firm on their principles, that this person is still committing out this haram, and he has to do tawbah for this.
And if that person, if that person is doing this, obviously what you're not saying is that they simulate themselves or stimulate themselves with pornography or anything like that.
That's another issue, which is another haram issue. Another
so sin. You're saying that they do that.
And it's zina of the eyes now. He's committed, nasallahu al-afi, if this is the case, then he's done zina of multiple things here, rather than, no.
Right. And to be fair, I was reading some things, Sheikh ibn Baz.
Alayhi rahmatullah.
Yeah, he wrote, obviously he sees this as haram, right?
No.
But what he said was quite interesting. He said there's a hajjah, for instance, he said for medical reasons.
No.
He says this in his fatwa.
You see, it isn't specific to this issue. This is why, because Sheikh ibn Baz understood the sharia in totality, which is that if there's a medical reason for anything, there's something that is haram, it could be permissible to do it.
Devil's advocate, just for a second here.
Possibly even recommended, possibly even wajib.
Yeah, that he said, for example, if the doctors
what's wajib? No obligation.
He said that if the doctors need his sperm, the man's sperm,
for
medical reasons. Okay, what if the person, just once again, devil's advocate, what if the person has a medical problem which necessitates him, or he's being harmed by the fact that he's not releasing naturally? So is the illah not the same? Is the hajjah? Is the hajjah?
What is illah? Let's translate
sorry,
it.
the illah meaning the reasoning.
Yeah.
Isn't the reasoning the same? So if Sheikh ibn Baz is saying that for medical reasons he can give it to the doctor, could you not argue that for medical reasons he can release because otherwise he will be in pain, for instance?
The problem is you've conflated between two different scenarios.
Okay.
You've said in the first that medical reasons, is it going back to himself, or is it purely, for example, a research issue?
He's saying that, for example, if the doctor needs...
Ahsant.
Yeah.
So meaning that there is some kind of harm that is on him. It may, if he does not do this action,
Yes.
harm may come back to him.
Yes.
In that case, the illah, the legal reasoning behind it, is one and the same. It's one and the same.
So, okay, so if the
in
person,
both of these issues.
if he goes to a GP and the GP says, listen, I recommend that you masturbate because actually if you don't, it could have an impact on your health.
Then here we go back to fatwa.
Okay.
This requires a specific fatwa rather than لا نطلق حكما عاما. We don't just say a general ruling for this. This is a specific fatwa. This person has to go to that person he trusts and take knowledge from. It isn't something general.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I think it's been quite fruitful.
Barakallahu
To kind of end off, I would say this. I would say that in terms of the body,
yes,
we know it has a self-flushing, if you like, mechanism,
absolutely,
doesn't
yeah.
it?
Such as wet dreams.
Wet dreams. So if someone does have a wet dream,
No,
that's not something they'd be sinful for, is it?
of course not. Subhanallah.
Some people do think that.
No, the pen has been lifted on 3 people, including one of them is an-na'im, حتى يستيقظ, the person who's sleeping until he wakes up. Hadith Ibn Abbas.
I don't want to be inappropriate here. Obviously, we talk about a very sensitive topic.
No.
But I do want to mention something that even in Western culture,
No.
there are articles and things that are written that talk about lucid, I think they call it lucid dreams, like wet dreams, sexual dreams, stuff like that. And some people actually induce, like they try and have a wet dream. They try and have that. And the way they do that is by not masturbating, by not actually manually trying to get rid of.
Interesting.
So the point is, the unconscious mind, going back to Freud here, because you started off with Freud, the unconscious mind has a tendency to flush these things. So it's not as if, right, if the person doesn't do it, that there's no way of it being gotten rid of, isn't it?
No.
For man or woman.
For man or woman, subhanAllah. And I think man is probably more pertinent than in this particular situation, due to the issue of shabaq, shiddat al-shabaq, which is a medical condition, which may lead to actual physical harm on a person's testicles, etc., etc.
Right,
so that's one particular angle.
Yeah. What kind of advice would you give?
The most important thing, brothers and sisters, my advice is, as Allah Jalla wa Ala said, وَمَن يَتَقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. If you have taqwa for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Jalla wa Ala will create an exit for you. Have taqwa for Allah. If you find it difficult to get married, have taqwa for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will be made easy. وَمَن يَسْتَعْفِفْ يَعْفِهُ اللَّهُ. Whosoever seeks to marry and to remain chaste, it will be made easy for him. And this is it's a sunnah that we've seen happen, subhanAllah.
And one more thing which I haven't mentioned, I think is important. I think, just from my reading, a lot of the ulama, the verse they use to make it haram, because a lot of people say, what's the evidence?
No.
They say, فَمَنِ ابْتَغَى وَرَاءَ ذَلِكَ فَأُولَئِكَ هُمُ الْعَادُونَ. In Surah Marriage.
No.
So whoever seeks beyond that, i.e. from what the right hand possess or their wives, then they are the ones who are transgressors.
Even Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala and others, they mentioned the hadith Ibn Abbas that I quoted, and whomsoever cannot get married, then فَعَلِيهِ بِالصَّوْمِ, let him fast. And in fact, they derive evidence from this that says Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam would have pointed him instead to what? To masturbation, if it was a viable alternative, a legit mubah alternative, whereas Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam did not.
Jazakumullah khairan, Shaykh.
Wa yakum barakallahu feekum.
Until next time from the Knowledge Corner, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.